So when there is joy of the process, whatever activity you are engaging in, when you love that activity, when you see the beauty or the joy in what that activity entails, whether it's gardening or teaching a child or whatever it is, then it's non-egotistic. But when you are seeking a result and you are ambitious about achievement and so on, then it brings in the ego. So it's the approach which brings in the ego. And if you discover that, the ego is one of the most destructive factors in our life, because it brings conflict, it brings all the negative emotions, it brings division, it brings insecurity. We went into all that. Then automatically there is an intelligence which nature has put into us, which will not let you court danger, which makes you stop at the precipice, or which prevents you from embracing fire. That same intelligence will drop away the ego, because you will no longer approach with self-interest in that way, because you are aware of the danger. But you don't sense the danger. You don't sense the danger because you don't watch this. If you watch this without trying to suppress it or form opinions about it and so on, you will see exactly how the ego arises, what it does to your life, to your relationships and so on, and how it is simply arising from one's own approach to life. And it doesn't take any effort to change your approach. The approach will change if you see that the whole danger is coming from the approach. And that's what is freedom from the self. Is not the erasing of all the memories, but the freedom from the identification and the ego. And therefore, you are no longer acting out of self-interest. When you are not acting out of self-interest, you can do the same thing with joy, for the love of it, and not in seeking the result. So it is this attitude of when one does it with the motive not of experiencing the joy in that activity, but in seeking a result out of it for oneself, some kind of profit, that it turns into an egotistic activity. So there is no ego in nature, neither in the tree nor in the animal. And therefore, since we are also a product of nature, a biological evolution, there is no ego in us also. But it is created by this kind of thinking, this kind of thought process. And because it is created by a thought process, that's why it is called an illusion, because it doesn't have an actual existence. It's like I can imagine a ghost, and the ghost has no actual existence in nature, but I can feel fear of the ghost. And so this ego is like that ghost. It comes about through my own approach, and I suffer all the consequences, and it appears to me as if it is something there within me, but it is coming from my own thinking, my own approach to life. Because if you can play a game egotistically, or you can play the same game non-egotistically, then find out if whole of life is not like a game, and therefore whole of life can be lived egotistically, or it can be lived non-egotistically. So it's just an approach, and when that danger is perceived, the approach to life changes, and that is freedom from the self. So both self-knowledge, and when self-knowledge goes that far that you perceive the danger of the way you are approaching life, it changes. You don't have to do anything to change it. That perception will change it. So the transformation of consciousness is a byproduct of learning. It is not an aim of learning. When you try to transform your consciousness directly, you will not be able to transform it, because then you are approaching this thing itself egotistically, because you are wanting to achieve transformation of consciousness. No, it's a byproduct. The greatest things in life are all byproduct of learning, this kind of learning which we have just talked about. And they cannot be achieved through the desire to acquire additional capacity. All right, thank you. And we can have a discussion.
Professor Krishna,
Yes?
I have a couple of questions about this illusion thing you said. When a negative emotion arises, find the illusion in your mind that causes it. Well, if I feel angry at someone because they committed crimes against me, is that an illusion?
Let's investigate that a little bit.
And is it ego? Well, maybe I should not ask the second question until later. But
I think one at a time I would prefer, because most of these questions don't have a short one-line answer. Huh? They are something which we need to investigate together, like that. That's why it takes a little time. Somebody does something which I think he should not be doing, or I consider it to be wrong, and therefore I get angry with him. I hate him because he is acting in an improper manner, and I think that is an improper thing. First of all, it could be that I have my own definition of what is proper or improper, which is coming from my culture, and he has a different programming of what is.
No, we're in the same culture, and
okay, you are in the same
culture.
culture.
Legal definitions. So
yeah. Okay. So when you rule that out, that it is not that, then it may be that he is suffering from pangs of hatred or violence within him, which has a certain causation within him. So, isn't he a poor fellow? He has a problem. Does it help to hate a man with a problem? Why do I hate a man who has a problem? Either that may be my problem, that I judge him, I condemn him, and I hate him. And this hating may be my conditioning, my reaction to it, because I judge, I condemn. All that is something that is happening from within me. Why don't I feel compassion for the man who is having a problem?
So is that ego, if you're judging and not having compassion?
Yes.
That's all from the ego.
Perhaps that's what Jesus might have meant when he said, "Judge not others, lest ye be not judged." Because this business of judging another person and measuring him and calling him moral or immoral is a game which our mind plays. Actually, you have to look at it as cause and effect. When you look at it as cause and effect, you will see that what his actions are an effect and the cause is ignorance. He is having illusions in his head. The only way you can help him is to eliminate those illusions, which means you must communicate with him, teach him. How does it help the situation to condemn somebody? So I would give you a question which I think we should stay with and investigate, because it is in investigating a question and staying with a question that we come upon deeper insights and our learning grows. And that question is the following. When a man is physically blind, I feel great sympathy for him. I feel compassion. I bring him food. I show him across the road. I get him a chair, and so on. When a man is mentally blind, why do I hate him? That's a question that one must ask oneself.
Because the physically blind man doesn't come and hurt you, but the mentally blind man comes and hurts you. So there's an injury where there is not an injury where there's a physically blind.
And if you hate him, it doesn't hurt you?
Well, of course, feeling anger or hatred or any negative emotion hurts you. But that's the reaction when you're hurt.
Did you know this person?
Yes,
So you may have wanted something from him?
it's apparent.
Right. So there's another thing going on.
Yeah.
But
So
in any case, if it was someone I didn't know and someone I just worked for, I would feel the same way.
Yeah, because you can't teach a parent, sometimes they don't want to learn anyway, so that would work, it doesn't always work to want to help somebody who doesn't see.
I mean, if it's a physical problem that the other person is going to attack you, then you have to just find a solution for that, right? Get away from there or whatever. But how does it help the situation to condemn him and to hate him? It's not helping the situation, it's only hurting me within, right? So I'm not saying that nothing, you don't need to deal with it. But the hatred within me is my reaction, and that reaction is not helping the situation. It's only hurting me more within. On the other hand, if it is not physical hurt, if he is not really attacking me with a stick, then I have to ask myself, why do I feel hurt when somebody calls me a bloody fool? He's insulting me. What is insult? I felt insulted. Learn about it. Learn about insult. Learn about yourself, because it has produced that negative emotion. Hurt is a disorder which I feel within. So it is also an opportunity to learn about myself. And I ask myself, what is this hurt? He doesn't like me. He's angry with me. He says nasty things to me. But what is it that hurts here? Is that he should be nice to me. He shouldn't treat me that way. And so on, right? I have expectations
Is that
from him. Why? Why? He is that way. And why should I feel hurt if he is that way? So there is a lot going on within me, which is what I want to understand. Self-knowledge is learning about oneself, not about the other guy, etc. So that's what, therefore, every negative emotion is also an opportunity to learn about oneself. Well, learn about oneself means to learn about the process by which this hurt arises within me. If I can be hurt, I can also be flattered, because I have an image of myself, and that image, if the other person shares that image and praises it, I feel flattered. When he denigrates it and says you are not intelligent, but I think I am intelligent, then I feel hurt by it. So find out why you have such an image about yourself, or why I should have an image. So long as I have an image about myself, which I feel other people should share, I am vulnerable to hurt.
But it's more than that. It's like we have laws and rules in society, laws to protect people.
Yes.
And those laws enforce our moral values.
Yes.
Some of which were originally based in Christianity here. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. So we have laws. If you kill, then this is a crime. If you steal, this is a crime. There's laws against fraud, and people go to jail for violating these laws.
Yes.
So laws are based on our moral values.
Yes.
So I have a reaction when somebody breaks one of these laws in regard to myself, because I think they shouldn't. Okay, that's my ego. It's judgment. It's based on my cultural conditioning. It's based on the moral values of the society I was raised in. And if I didn't have those moral values, if I expected people are ignorant and therefore they will, rob you and defraud you given the chance, even if they're people that you trust and think would not do it, if you have a different expectation or lack of expectation, rather, then yes, then there'd be no hurt, no upset, no anger. It'd be, oh, well, that's what those people are like. And for example, in some cultures, it's understood that people will steal given the chance. Petty theft is somewhat accepted.
Have you never hurt anyone?
Well, of course.
He hurts for the same reason for which you hurt. When you hurt another, it's the same thing as when he hurts you. right? And he does it for the same reason for which you do. That's what it means that we share the same consciousness, right?
So we just have to have compassion for their ignorance and let it go.
No, you
Basically,
can't
turn the
decide
other
to
cheek
have.
like
You
Jesus
can't
said.
decide to have compassion. Just go slow. Go slow. You can't decide to have compassion. First of all, see that we do need those laws. If there is a rapist on the road, you need a law or a police officer to catch hold of him and put him and in whatever. But why do we need to do this? We need to do this because he is a rapist, right? How did he become a rapist? Go into a little deeper, right?
He was raped.
Wait. He grew up in this society. He was educated in this society. He was brought up. We just went into it, how a human being develops into what he is. He has all kinds of illusions. He has not understood his relationship with women, and he is looking upon sex with lustful eyes and looking upon women as meant for his fulfillment and so on. And he is extremely egotistic because that's what he has become. Society is also responsible for producing that rapist and separately makes a mechanism for eliminating the rapist, right? Now, because he has become that, you do need that mechanism to eliminate it because you need to protect the women on the road. But if you keep doing this, you will keep producing rapists in your society and keep eliminating them through the mechanism which you have. Therefore, it has gone on for 1,000 years and raping continues. And this law is there. So, it's a very superficial response. You are only dealing with the symptom and controlling the symptom. The controlling the symptom will never eliminate the disease. Crime is a disease in society. And what we are saying is if the long-term solution lies in having wisdom, having self-knowledge, transforming the consciousness, is because it is not transformed, because we don't have wisdom, because we are not the masters of ourselves, we are led by all kinds of passions. Therefore, we commit crime. And therefore, we need a mechanism to catch hold of that person because he has become like crazy and protect the other people. Right? But the same thing happens within us too. When I get tremendously angry, I become also crazy. I become violent. I may not manifest in murder, but it manifests in hatred. It's the same thing. The same thing is happening to me, which is happening to that criminal within him. So I am not free from it either. And learning about oneself is to learn to free oneself of these negative emotions. Because if you don't, right, he doesn't for the same reason you didn't, right? And therefore these things happen. So the deeper question is, why is there crime in society? And you will see that when you go to the deeper reason, it is because of the ego process in man. That ego produces the violence. Because the mission of my life is to fulfill my desires. That's the ego, right? So desire arises in me, I want to fulfill it. I don't care whether you are hurt in the process or not. That's my ambition. So violence is born out of such an approach of ambition. Ambition being that I must fulfill all my desires and I must have maximum of pleasure for myself. That whole approach is the egotistic approach. And if you just control the ego, it's not freedom from the ego. So what is true at the society level is also true at the individual level. That is, in society, control of crime does not eliminate crime, it just controls it. Right? In our own personal life also, if I just control my anger, I don't free myself of the anger. I must understand the process by which anger arises within me. And if that process, the cause of that can be eliminated, because it is from an illusion, then it can be eliminated. If I eliminate the illusion, the anger won't arise. And that is transformation of consciousness.
Well, what is the illusion then in this case, if someone defrauds you, you have the expectation that they won't. So you're angry that they did. Then what's the illusion?
Find out. Don't get it from Krishna or from Krishnamurti, because that will just be another idea.
Is the illusion the
Find out. That's a good question. Remain with that question. Watch in your life from what illusion does it come? That's the work each one of us has
Well,
to do.
I mean, it seems to me that the illusion is the expectation based on the moral values of society.
That's why, may I say something that we're conditioned to think that our parents should love us, like be really good to us. And if this parent did something to you, then it's like we're tricked into being hurt. You know, because parents have a strong emotional, they can.
Yeah, you were talking about expectation.
Yeah, so you were
An
right.
Expectation.
You know.
So that's the illusion that people
people,
should
whether
be
your
good or
parents
kind
or
or
not.
loving, whoever they are.
Yeah. It's like we're sort of aliens in our family, you know. I know. I felt that way in my family, but yeah. So.
Because anyway, retaliating and hitting him back doesn't solve your problem, no?
No.
Yeah.
No, like last night, my heart opened with compassion and I felt love and compassion. But in my head, it's still this, these ideas I was talking about.
Professor Krishna, I want to thank you for being as open as you have been about a really an important topic. But I was thinking, the young lady just said she felt compassion yesterday, but then the thoughts came in, and it occurs to me that there is something that's already happened. There is a step, but it's not something that can happen immediately or overnight, even though sometimes we feel insight can happen like that. But it does take time. You talked yesterday about being at door 1 and wanting to be at door 20 immediately. It takes time, but thinking about this, staying with it, is something that really will free you. At least that's my feeling.
You see, there is no answer at the action level. Because actions are decided upon by the mind. Wisdom is not a matter of decision. Wisdom is a matter of seeing the whole thing holistically. Now, normal reaction is that when a man is being hit, he will hit back. That is the normal reaction. A wise man like Jesus, when he is being nailed to the cross, is feeling compassion and is saying, God forgive them for they know not what they do. How does that man come upon that kind of consciousness? Right? How does he come upon that wisdom? That's what we are discussing. How does a human being become Christian? To be Christian is to share in that Christ consciousness. And that means I must be free from hatred of my enemy. See, my mind says he is an enemy. Enemy in the sense he is harming me, he is trying to hurt me, insult me or physically hurt me, is therefore enemy, my enemy. I hate my enemy. Then I am trapped in the same disease as he is. He is hating me, that's why he is coming to hit me. I am also hating him. Right? So all I say is he began it, and therefore I am also hating him. So when he hits me, wisdom says, I don't become like him. Right? If otherwise he is determining what I am.
I don't become like him, but at the same time, I need to recognize I am him.
You are him in that deep sense that you share the same body and the same mind, same consciousness. Therefore, you are also capable of getting angry like he did, unless you have a deep understanding of life and wisdom, in which case there is a transformation of consciousness. Otherwise, if it's only at the level of judging and ideation, right, whether you develop anger because he performs sex, or you develop anger because he does not perform sex, it is in both cases anger, right? So you have to understand that whole process within you. What creates anger within you? You can't solve the problem of anger in him. If you want to solve the problem of anger in him, you have to educate him. If you can't solve that by showing him a stake, you will only prevent him from hitting you because you have also used fear to suppress him. But that doesn't change him in any way. Human beings don't change because they are shown a stake. They are only prevented. Their action is prevented. It may be necessary, but if you really want to help him, you have to educate him. That's why it's not so easy to help a human being. We may think that giving food to a beggar or giving alms to a beggar is helping him, but that's just like aspirin. I mean, that day you have given him a meal, okay, nothing wrong with it, but you haven't solved his problem because next day he's hungry again. If you really want to help him, you will have to educate him so that he can stand up on his own legs and work and lead his own life and not be a beggar, right? That requires a lot to be done. Very easy to just give off your pocket and go and feel good that I have done my good act of today. That's why Khalil Gibran says, you give but little, but when you give off your pocket, it is when you give off yourself that you truly give. So all these things, one needs to dwell on all this and stay with those questions. Otherwise they don't become part of you, they just become nice statements to admire and like poetry and so on. It becomes entertainment or philosophy, but it doesn't bring about any change in your own behavior.